tape is polarized to the point that we rarely hear each other. Larry Sharpe has traveled the country and has personally visited every county in New York State, listening to people's concerns. The Sharpe Way is a show where answers, solutions, and common ground can be found so that together we can forge a new way forward. The Sharpe Way is the way to mutual respect, where no one has to convert to be heard, because you can be as liberal or as conservative as you want, as long as you aren't forcing your beliefs on others. Welcome to Sharpe Way Radio.
Oh, yes, it is Larry Sharpe. Sharpe Way Radio, here on the Voice of Liberty. The number to call after the first break, 585-346-3000. Well, tomorrow is Election Day in New York City. And some of you may say, Larry, why do I care? You know why you care. Because there's a guy named Mamdani running, and he might be the next mayor. And that worries some people a lot. But I want to go back to an older New York City before we go to the new or newer New York City. When I was a kid, for those of you who know, I grew up in the Bronx, South Bronx, by Yankee Stadium, about a block away. And when I was there with my mother and my father, we lived in obviously not a great neighborhood. It was not a great neighborhood there at all. Gangs, violence. In fact, for those of you who remember the movie Serpico, which was all about corrupt cops, was actually filmed outside of my apartment building in a park across the street, because that's how bad it was then. Fort Apache, the Bronx, you remember. But what was funny about that was my father wasn't that concerned about moving out. He had kind of become accustomed to that, and he was kind of okay with it. My mom was not. My mom wanted out. She said, I don't want to be in this bad neighborhood. We got to go. Got to get out. So my father agreed. And what did we do? We had secondary jobs. My father was a corrections officer, Rikers Island, and my mom worked in a bank. And so what did we do? Well, side jobs. My dad was a DJ on the weekends, and my mom, and often she'd take me with her, would clean offices or houses to make extra cash. So they'd all make extra cash, put this sock the cash away, pack up, and we left. And I was able to graduate high school on Long Island. That to us was moving on up. For us, that was moving on up out of the Bronx. That was great. That's what we did. So I say we left because we were in a bad neighborhood and we wanted to go to someplace better. We wanted that suburban life. We thought that was going to be the cool life for the kids and such. Now I'm back in the city. What was I thinking? But there are a lot of New Yorkers now who come to New York, or have in the past at least, because they wanted to do something great. They moved from other places to come here. I was the oddball. I left the city and went someplace else. I came back, but it's very common that most people don't know, about 1/3 of New York City residents aren't born in the country, and about another third aren't born in the city. Why do I tell you all this stuff? Because Mamdani wins tomorrow. There's a huge chunk of New Yorkers who are talking about leaving New York. Now, is it real? I don't know, right? Every time they say, oh, if Trump wins, we're moving to Canada. Remember that? And how many people didn't move to Canada? So is this the same thing? Is it just people saying, I'm mad and I'm moving if Mamdani wins? And is it only the city, or is it also the state? I am worried a little bit about this. There was a recent poll, and I'm going to read some of this for you. I don't usually read, well, to you guys at least, not usually, but a piece of this I want to read to you. More than a quarter of New Yorkers will consider fleeing the Big Apple if Zohran Mamdani is elected mayor, according to a new poll that warns that a socialist-run city hall could reshape the city for years to come. The shocking new survey released Friday morning from polling firm Victory Insights revealed that a whopping 26.5% of respondents were thinking about moving if the Democratic Socialists of America lawmaker takes the helm. Now, just to be clear, 26 said they would consider moving. About 10% said they're definitely going to move. What does that mean? Does that mean it's all BS? It's just people who are scared? Does it mean that of that 26%, half are real, and that half of those will actually move, so 6% will move? Is that what it means? New York State already loses 300,000 people per year. If this is true, and again, I don't know if it's true. It could be BS. Could be people talking a bunch of trash. It's possible. But if 5% leave, just 5% leave, that would change New York City. It would change the state, because that's 5% on top of the 300,000 who are already leaving, right? And 5% of New York City's 8.5 million. What's that? 400,000? Is that about right? Is my math about right? So 700,000 people leaving in 1 year? How the hell is New York State going to survive? How are we going to pay all those taxes Mamdani wants us to pay? Who's going to pay? I guess you paying double, because everybody else is leaving. I guess you're paying double if they're leaving. And I think that's my real question. That is my real worry. How much of this should I be worried about? And how much of this is just people talking? And here is my real concern. When everyone was talking about, oh, if Trump wins, we're going to Canada. It wasn't that many people. It was a couple celebrities who probably live half their time in America and half their time in Europe anyway. Is that big of a deal? And they were full of it, because they're going to come back when the next movie comes out. So it doesn't matter. But New York State is already losing about $20 billion per year due to migration. If more of these people leave, this is the problem. I guess maybe I'm beating around the bush. Let me stop. We're already bleeding. And I've told you one of my goals is to stop the bleeding. If this poll is anywhere near true, if it is, we're going to be spurting blood. How do we stop that spurting blood? How do we close that wound? Is there a point of no return? Does New York City, or New York State worse, does the entire state just bleed out? I mean, maybe I'm being too dramatic. Maybe I am. You know, I can hope that people will follow what Curtis Sliwa says. Curtis Sliwa is running as a Republican here in New York City. He says, improve, don't move. Maybe we'll decide that. Maybe I'm being the guy who, for one of the first times, is not being optimistic. You guys get mad at me because you think I'm optimistic. And usually that's true. Am I being too pessimistic this time? I want to be optimistic. I want to believe Curtis Sliwa. I want to believe that we will take whatever happens tomorrow, and it looks like it's Mamdani, but you never know, may not be, that we can take that as a screaming, yelling light bulb that flashes in our face and says, do something, change. This is the end if you don't do something. And maybe we actually do. I mean, I feel like we've had it kind of happen in the past. When David Dinkins got us a more law and order Giuliani, maybe that's something. Will that happen? Or will, oh my God, will Kathy Hochul be our savior? Is that even possible? Did I even say that? Or will she just cave in and do exactly what he wants because the Democratic Party is changing. Because that's the secondary piece to this. I know a lot of people listen to this show and watch it online who aren't in New York State. And you might go, Larry, I watch your show even though I'm not in New York State, and it's a New York State show. Because I know what happens in your state comes to me. And you're right. And you are 100% correct. Is Mamdani the future of the Democratic Party? Now, I'm going to give you my 2 cents on this. I think no. Maybe I'm being optimistic again. Maybe I am. I think no. And the reason is, if you look at the population of America versus the population of New York City, New York City has a chunk of people who are literally very left-leaning, who will support him, love what he's saying, and are on board. But once you leave New York City, it's not the same. You don't find that same chunk, that same big piece of hardcore left people throughout the nation. You find that in certain cities, I think you do, and even in those cities, very often, it's not 50%. And this is the next piece. Does he tomorrow break 50%? Does he get 51, 52, 53? Or does he just win a 3-way race? If he just wins a 3-way race, Democrats going to say, yeah, see, if that spoiler Curtis Sliwa wasn't there, we would have won it. If it wasn't for those pesky kids, we would have got away with it. That's what they'll be saying. So Democrats will say, see, Democrats don't want socialists. Let's crush Mamdani and all of those people and go back to our establishment Democrats. See, Cuomo was right the whole time. That's what they're going to say. But if he breaks 51%, that might be a real change for the Democratic Party and maybe the whole country. Wow. All right. I better find some more optimism, huh? Let me know. 585-346-3000. Larry Sharpe on Sharpe Radio, the voice of liberty. Back with your calls and your chat after the break.
For the last couple of years, Joe Robach has been telling you about Flower City Collision in Henrietta, saying that it was started by a veteran along with his son, Zach. Hi, my name is Greg Sadwick, and I am that veteran. I want to thank the WYSL listeners for their support over the last couple of years. During those years, not only have I experienced the gratification of providing you the best repairs and customer service, it has also allowed me the opportunity to see my son develop as a young professional. So remember, Flower City Collision for your collision repair needs. And thank you for supporting our locally owned family business.
Donald Trump and conservatives may have won, but you know the left will unceasingly try to undermine society and spread evil, targeting the innocent and God-fearing, especially our children. Help promote a truth-based society and try something different in 2025. The WYSL stations can grow your business, professional practice, or organization, so allocate your ad dollars here. Reach our huge audience, entertained, inspired, and informed by leading conservative thought. Affordable, effective. The WYSL stations, the voice of liberty. Call 585-346-3000 to advertise.
Hey, if you like history and you like airplanes, the National Warplane Museum in Geneseo, New York is the place to go. Tours, exhibits, events, vintage aircraft, and more. Visit nationalwarplanemuseum.com for more details.
Sharpe Radio on the voice of liberty.
Oh, yes, indeed. It is Larry Sharpe on Sharpe Radio, the voice of liberty. 585-346-3000. I have been talking about, are more people going to flee this city and, of course, the state if Mamdani wins tomorrow? I think it's a valid concern, a valid worry, only because we have been leaving, right? That has been happening. Everyone listening in New York knows someone who has left or is talking about leaving. Guaranteed. No doubt. That's a common thing. So will this just exacerbate it and make more people leave? And if that happens, how do we even deal with that? And here's the next piece. If this race goes landslide. He wins like 60% of the votes or something crazy like that.
Keith.
I'm not saying that's going to happen. But if that does happen, what does that tell the entire country? What does that tell the entire Democratic Party? That would be scary. But let me grab a call if I could. This is Keith. Keith, how are you, sir?
Well, we'll see tomorrow, as will the whole country.
Yes.
You're basically saying that if Mamdani does not play patty cake and go along with deep state policies and politics like the entrenched Democrats, they'll have the Dems, those kind of Dems will have every reason to shoehorn him out of there as Republicans want him to be elected. So I think he's going to be faced, because he does come from a background of privilege. He knows what it means to have that privilege in life and to do the deep state. He wouldn't have gotten as far as he did without the deep state politics. So it's going to be very confused there, and all of these cowardly Democrats who should have spoken up and jettisoned this guy, that they're going to get their wish when he turns on them, just like they're turning on Obama. It was in the news saying that Obama is not enough lefty for them. Imagine that president.
So hold on 1 second, Keith. Before you go there, let me touch that piece right now. Are you saying that you think that Mamdani is not actually a true believer in socialism, and this is just his way of getting privilege, or are you saying he is a true believer, but he will bend because he wants the privileges of a Democratic Party? Which one are you saying?
Both, because the Dems are all about power. He's a true believer, certainly when it comes to the jihad in him, and hopefully they're saying Trump Justice Department are going to look at that and maybe even push him out of the country after he's been elected. They should have done it before. I don't know the logic about pushing him out after he's been elected. That will cause a storm right there. But all the Democrats, they're all about power. They're not about patriotism like people on our side. And he wants power. He knows how to go about it. But if he doesn't play a ball with his fellow Dems, they could turn on him in the same way that they really don't want him in there. I also want to say this is going to be a precursor. It has to do also with the Muslim communities, Michigan, Minnesota, and Texas, which is besieged. I don't know how the Lone Star allowed these Muslims in, but they're following Mamdani's blueprint to get elected. The one there, just like Mamdani in Minneapolis, going for mayor there. These are bad people in Dearborn, Michigan. They want to bring in that Shiite or religious law there that even many Muslims won't put up with. We're in closing, we're becoming a balkanized country, and there should be no more immigration into the country. We've allowed in people like New York City there who do not understand America. They come in here fleeing their old country, but they bring with them the baggage that caused them to flee in the first place. They do not want to assimilate, and Sharia law, they're demanding in too many parts of our country now, these Muslims, Sharia law be implemented, and
all right,
Americans...
You gave me a lot again, Keith. You always do give me a lot. All right, let me try to walk down a couple of these roads. First one, why would Trump's DOJ, if he has something bad on Mamdani, why would he wait? I think one or two things is true. Either he doesn't have anything and he's still looking. That would be option one. Option two, he does have something, but there's a political calculation that says they want Mamdani to win. I'm not saying this is true, Keith. I'm giving two options. Would be they want it to happen, and so that people can get afraid, and so that he can come in and save the day. I could see both of those as options. So to answer that question, to touch that piece, I think that's why that would be the case. Either they don't have anything yet, that's real, or they're making a political calculation. So I think one of those two would be true. When it comes to him trying to retain power. The reality is he only retains power if the people are behind him right now. The system has gotten behind him. To be forward, and a lot of you guys who love Trump will be mad when I say this, there's similarities in the way he moved up in the same way Trump moved up. When Trump moved up the Republican line, if you remember, for those of you who are paying attention in 2015, 2016, the Republican establishment hated him. They were like, he's the worst thing in the world. We can't stand him. But they thought he was a joke. So they kind of let it go. They kind of let it go. And before you know it, Trump got popular, and they were like, oh, my God. Mamdani was similar, Keith. The Democrats went, this guy's a joke. It'll never work. Who cares? They basically played the same game with him as the Republicans played with Trump in 2015. And he said, okay. And he kept pushing on, just like Trump did. And people got behind him, just like Trump. And now he's popular, just like Trump. So now Democrats went, oh, I guess we have to endorse you now, just like the establishment said that with Trump. So I think that's kind of why that happened. If you're asking why the Dems didn't do anything, I think they honestly believed that a savvy establishment politician like Cuomo could just walk in and save the day, just like the Republicans thought Jeb could walk in and save the day from Trump back in 2015. Did I cover those parts, Keith?
Yes, very good. In one final sentence, it's the white affluent lefties who don't have to live in the bad neighborhoods and put up with the bad services. They're behind Mamdani. They won't face the consequences of his bad rule right in the center of the city. It's these dreaded white affluent lefties who could care less about our country and are going sneering at us as they put Mamdani. This is just a thumb in the eye to all of us here.
Well, thank you for the Keith. I'll grab some of those next pieces too. The idea of white liberals being behind Mamdani, I think, are true. A lot of the youngsters who moved to the city are behind him, but it's not 100%. It's a big chunk. I think that's true. It's a big chunk, but it's not all of them. It's also people who are just pissed off and unhappy, who want something to be done in New York City, and it's not being done. I think you saw that with Trump too. Again, I'm bringing them together because I know their policies are not the same. Please don't yell at me about that. I'm not saying that. I'm saying their assent was similar. That's what I'm saying. One the Republican Party, one the Democratic Party, and in both cases, the establishment thought they're a joke. The establishment completely underrated Trump in 2015, and the establishment completely underrated Mamdani in 2025, 10 years later. So they totally underestimated, and it got taken out. That's what actually happened. But let me keep going. When people are unhappy, they want change, and they'll take it any way they can get it. There's a bunch of people, Keith, who don't even understand what Mamdani wants to do. They just know he's not Cuomo, he's not the establishment, and that's all they care about. I remember in 2016, how many people were Bernie bros? And then after the Democrats got rid of Bernie, they went Trump. And again, policy-wise, not even close. But rebellion-wise, the same. They were rebels. And there's a chunk of Mamdani supporters that are just rebels. They don't care why or how. They don't care what he's going to do. They'll do it. The last piece I'll bring up is Sharia law. I don't know of him being a Sharia law guy at all. Now, there are some who are. And I think you see in places like Dearborn, Michigan, you do see a push for people to do that in different areas. I think that is true. I don't think we can assume that in New York. It may be true, but he hasn't shown that at all. I don't think we have a concern with that in New York at the moment. And I don't think it would work in New York. We're far too diverse to have that happen. And the Muslim population isn't big enough. I can't imagine that to be a thing in New York City or New York State, whether they want it or not. So that part I'm not concerned about. Anyway, am I wrong? Is Keith right? Is he wrong? You can let us know. 585-346-3000. Larry Sharpe, Sharpe Radio on the Voice of Liberty. Back with your calls and your chat after the break.
radio home of the Bonnies. Avon, Rochester, WLEA, WLEA-FM, Hornell, New York.
FM Talk.
Canisteo Valley Update.
A driver crashed into a tree this morning in the 7 a.m. hour. That was on the Addison Back Road in the Steuben County town of Tuscarora. Officials say the driver, she was extricated and flown by helicopter to Strong Memorial Hospital. No word yet on her condition or identity. In other news, Steuben County officials discussed this morning how they're still working things out with the new County Emergency Medical Services crews. County Public Safety Director Tim Marshall.
The biggest problem we have with running beyond 12 hours a day is housing for these individuals because there's no bunk space for them. That's the biggest struggle that we have right now until we can expand space or find space for them to be able to bunk down. That's the most difficult issue that we got.
We have Mike from Rochester.
There, I'm Brian.
You're welcome.
Voice of Liberty.
Here's the latest forecast from the News 10 NBC Weather Center for today. We'll have increasing clouds, a gusty breeze this afternoon with a couple of rain showers out there. Temps in the 50s. For tonight, a couple of showers early, then clearing. Temperatures in the 40s on Tuesday for Election Day. Get some nice sunshine with temps in the 50s. I'm Rich Cadilia for the Voice of Liberty.
Fall fun is better than ever with your new ride at Dansville Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram Franklin Street near the airport. Check these great lease deals. A 25 Jeep Wrangler Sport S convertible is only $319 a month for 36 months. And check this. A 2026 Jeep Compass Limited is only $269 a month for 24 months. A 2025 Jeep Grand Cherokee Laredo SUV is only $269 a month for 24 months. Load up friends, kids, or cargo in a 25 Ram 1500 Bighorn Crew Cab pickup. Just
Pan after Mike, we have Lorraine.
All these deals require.
You're welcome.
Except Wrangler, 2,500 cash or trade down. First month payment, DMV taxes and fees due at signing. 7,500 miles per year except Ram pickup, 10,000 miles. Other conditions may apply. See dealer for details. We welcome Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram customers in Hornell, Wellsville, Angelica, Arkport, and Canisteo. Come shop these and other hot deals at Dansville Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, Franklin Street near the airport.
Andre Evans earned every accolade through dedication, hard work, and service, not privilege or party power. He's a leader for the people with real plans for the future based on best practices, not empty slogans. Evans is focused on progress, transparency, and results. This election is about direct democracy. Your voice, your choice. Write in Andre Evans, your Rondequoit Town Supervisor, the People's Choice.
Paid for by Vote Andre Evans.
Hot. So hot. She's a hot girl. Nothing hotter than a hot girl. She's hot with face and a figure. Unexpected and assuming demeanor. Incendiary. You're gonna catch this fever. She's hot with a bling bling bling. With the strappy and stretchy things. She's a hot girl. With the bright and the bling bling bling. She's a woman, she's a mother. She's a dance club goer. In a hot girl clothes. She's just plain hotter.
Are you new to town and resorting to big box stores and online shopping to revamp your home? Get big city experience and unlimited options at Decorator's Choice in Hornell. We offer the largest selection of flooring in the area with installation. From custom furniture and window treatments to Benjamin Moore paints and products, our design team will create your dream space. Shop your entire sleep system with our split head and traditional mattresses, offering bedding and pillow lines for your best night's sleep. Decorator's Choice has everything you need to revamp your space. Visit our showroom at 37 Seneca Street in Hornell and like us on Facebook.
As the saying goes, nothing's quite so sure as change. But one thing's constant. For more than 5 generations, Turnbull Heating and Air has been there, keeping you, your friends, and neighbors comfortable with the best 24/7 service and latest in comfort technology for best performance and energy savings. For today, tomorrow, and years to come, you'll be glad you turned to Turnbull. Count on it.
You'll be comfortable with the best. Turnbull Heating and Air.
At NYC Mayoral Hospital, we believe every birth is more than a moment. It's the beginning of a family's new chapter. In our family birthing center, you'll experience expert care in a cozy private suite that feels just like home. From birthing beds to whirlpool tubs, we've created the ideal space for comfort, bonding, and support. Your care, your family, your way. To schedule a tour or find a doctor that delivers at Noyes Birthing Center, call 585-335-4246. Noyes Memorial Hospital, where families begin.
Honoring our veterans is one of our missions here at the National Warplane Museum in Geneseo, New York. We can't thank our servicemen enough for their devoted time they've given to their country. Thank you to all who have served.
This Friday, the Voice of Liberty will have live coverage of the Section 5 Class D football semifinal between number 2 seed and host Avon and number 3 seed Canisteo Greenwood. Pregame is at 6:40, so be sure to tune in for all the exciting gridiron action here on the Voice of Liberty.
Sharpe Radio on the Voice of Liberty.
Oh, yes, it is Larry Sharpe on Sharpe Radio, the Voice of Liberty. 585-346-3000. I've been talking about maybe Mamdani winning tomorrow. Is it going to change the Democratic Party? Is it going to change our city? Is it going to change our state? But even more, is it going to get more people to leave this state? The biggest problem this state has is people leaving. We can't fix it if they're all walking away. We got to do what Curtis Lewa says. Improve, don't move. Easier said than done. I get it, but I haven't moved yet. I'm still, I don't know why, but I'm still here. You know who else is here? Mike is also still here, still from Rochester. Mike, how are you, my friend?
Larry, pretty good. Hey, there's another movie you forgot, Escape from New York. Okay, Mamdani's going to be driving around Manhattan in his convertible screaming he's the Duke.
That's right. I remember that. Snake Plissken, right?
Well, yeah. Well, Snake took care of the Duke, so Trump is not going to be our Snake Plissken. But
so hey,
you know New York is going to be in trouble when you see for sale signs in Bensonhurst.
Yes, that's a good point. Look, I think we're going to have the people who leave, and I was looking at that polling, and it wasn't what you think. It wasn't just, which is why I was clear when Keith was talking, it wasn't just one group of people. It was a lot of different groups, wealthy, not so wealthy, all different types of people who were considering leaving, and that's a problem.
Oh, yeah, when Brighton Beach and Bensonhurst clear out, you know you got a problem.
And then how do you that's the problem, Mike. How do you replace it? Right? In theory, you would want to have wealthy people come in and gentrify these areas and such, right? But are they going to come in if Mamdani is mayor? I don't know.
No, you know what's going to happen? We're going to pick up all the immigrants that were scattered all in these other cities across the country. They're going to flock to New York, thinking they're getting the freebies.
Oh my God, you made things worse, Mike. Now I'm mad you called. I'm kidding. It's just funny that you said that. Wow. That sounds even worse.
Oh,
now,
yeah,
look,
and the Queen's going to go along with it. Queen Hokel, the first of her name. She's going to go right along with it.
Why do you think she goes along, Mike? Tell me why you think she doesn't fight back. Tell me why.
Why? She's afraid.
Yeah.
You could see the fear in her face and her when she was standing up on the stage when Mamdani there. If you hunt, you can see that fear. You can see fear, that look, that plain. There wasn't enough Botox and body filler to prop those cheeks up when she was up on stage. Okay, you could see the fear in her eyes.
Thanks for the call, my friend. I appreciate it. Now you made me feel worse. Have a good one. I don't know. Maybe Mike might be right, though. I mean, maybe she's just going to collapse. I guess it wouldn't shock me. All right, let me grab another call if I could. This is Lorraine. Lorraine, how are you?
I'm really good. And how are you, Larry?
I'm doing great. What's going on?
Well, I want to report on something I simply heard on Glenn Beck, I believe it was. That is, an example, it doesn't seem very towering at the moment, but it would add up if you have a lot of stuff like that going on. And that's why I think there's danger with the New York mayor being okay with Sharia law and everything. What they're doing is, let's say a guy marries.
You're worried about more and more people being okay with it, and it eventually becomes normalized. That's your concern.
Yeah, but do you have time? I wanted to tell. Guy marries 6 women. Each one has 5 or 6 kids. They're all on our United States taxpayers' dole, which is bad enough. But then you get all those voters for, shall we say, Islamic terrorism or Sharia law or whatever.
So you're saying that this is a long-term, like, goal, like 6
right,
kids
exactly.
And 6 kids
well,
and
that
6
would be
kids
pretty long
over time.
But yeah. And, and that happens in small towns in Texas.
Yeah, let me give you a couple things. Number one, Glenn Beck and I are friends. So if you Google Glenn Beck and Larry Sharpe together, you will see my 2018 interview that he did with me in 2018. So please go enjoy that interview since you're a Glenn Beck fan. But I don't know how, even if that's true, and it may be true, all I'm saying is, I don't know how that's planned. In other words, that might just be the fact that we're not, native-born Americans aren't having a lot of children. Immigrants are. Could this just be a natural occurrence, Lorraine, versus a plan?
No, not according to Beck, of course, because he sees it in lots of small towns. And there are thousands of mosques in our country now, and little by little, every bit of it counts against Christians and stuff.
So you think this is a plan?
Yes, I do.
I always have a problem thinking that this could be some master plan, and it's not because I'm not saying it's not true or that it is true. What I'm saying is I always feel like if it was some massive plan, it would fail. Like, because no one would somebody would mess it up, or it feels like if this is going to happen, that it's more of a natural occurrence in that you find a lot of Muslim countries that are majority Muslim, many of them have government problems. The people don't like it. The government problems, so they leave. America takes them in. They're normally going to have more kids because that's just their culture. So they have more kids. And many of the times the parents still yearn for a better other country they came from, right? If they came from Iran, if they came from Egypt, or wherever they came from, they don't yearn for a great America. They yearn for a better Egypt or a better Iran because that's where they're born. I understand that. My question is, do their kids agree? Or do their kids say, no, I'm from Iran or Egypt, but I want a better America? I don't know. Where do you stand on that, Lorraine?
All I can fixate on right at the moment is the money they take for their offspring when they're already breaking the law. I think isn't the law you don't marry several people?
True. Polygamy is against the law, and I think every state, I don't think any state allows it. Marriage is a state law, not a federal law. But I don't think any states allow polygamy. So
anyway, that's just one example of what bothers me. Okay.
No, I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you so much for the call, Lorraine. Look, I think Lorraine is not alone. There are a lot of people who are worried about this. I understand the fear. I do. It's a valid concern. People coming to an area, changing the area, doing it in whatever way they want. It's similar in a way. I mean, again, I'm making similar. It's similar way to gentrification. Gentrification happens. It was X neighborhood. People come in, change the culture, move the other people out. I think people who don't like gentrification could see something like this very similar. I think the same thing. It is a worry. I still think that it's probably not an overall plan. I could be wrong. Look, a lot of conspiracy theories we thought were conspiracy theories a couple years ago were like, man, they're all true. So maybe it is. I think we'll find out. Anyway, Lorraine, thank you for the call. And I appreciate your concern. All right, let me grab a couple of these if I can. John says, many will, I think things will become violent before they flee. I don't think New York is that way, John. I think the lockdowns showed that we're not that way. I think we'll either, go in the streets and protest or something, but won't be violent. Or I think people will just leave. Or it's just BS. And they're virtue signaling and saying, oh, I hate Mamdani and I'll move. Just like all those people were going to move to Canada when Trump was elected and they didn't move. I think it could be that. I could see that. So we'll see. All righty. Mike is in the house. Mike Voss, he says, I fear what happens as a result of the 2025 race. I fear what happens to the Democratic Party and the Republican Party. And hear me out. You hear what Lorraine said. Lorraine's not alone. If it looks like the Democratic Party is becoming a socialist party, I mean, completely, like openly, I think people like Lorraine are going to be even more afraid. Understandably, why? And then that is more polarization and more fighting, and we don't come together and go, hey, wait a minute, can we just talk? That's my bigger worry. Well, wait a minute. What if there was a third party person running for governor? Well, that might save it. But no, I'm teasing. But yes, I am worried too. I think we may be much more divided. So I don't know. Maybe I'm off on that one, but I think that's true. So, Yamir says, Larry for governor of New York. Thank you. I appreciate that. And Kim says, I predict Larry Sharpe for the next governor of New York. I hope that's true, Kim. I hope you're right. So, was Lorraine right? Do you feel like her? Was Mike right? What about Kim? You can let me know. 585-346-3000. Larry Sharpe, Sharpe Radio on the Voice of Liberty. Back with your calls and your chat after the break.
Debunking advertising from the law office of Christopher Johnson. One ad some injury attorneys inundate you with, what's your case worth? Call us and find out. You know, nobody can tell you, quote, what your case is worth over the phone. Nobody knows. The ultimate answer to, quote, what your case is worth involves weeks or months of research, evaluation, and preparation. Many factors go into any compensation you might get, like applicable law, who's actually at fault, how much insurance coverage there is, and many, many other factors. At the law office of Christopher Johnson, the singular focus is getting your life back on track after an accident or injury. That takes money, and it helps when the advice and legal advice you get has a one-on-one focus informed by straight talk. Christopher Johnson Attorney, car, truck, motorcycle accidents, personal injury, and DWI defense. Call 585-415-3803. 585-415-3803.
Youth for Christ Rochester is creating a safe sanctuary and a Christ culture for at-risk city kids. Our basketball programs provides a strict code of conduct, discipline, and mentoring to give our kids the boundaries they need and crave. Our God's Girls middle school program is so popular
Roger.
now in 3 city schools and growing. Our Performing Arts Academy explores and identifies untapped gifts, all while delivering the gospel of Jesus Christ. Give a monthly or one-time gift at yfcrochester.org/donate.
Sharpe Radio on the Voice of Liberty.
Oh, yes, it is Larry Sharpe. Sharpe Radio on the Voice of Liberty. So happy that you are giving me a small chunk of your afternoon. I'm going to grab a couple quick comments. The Lunatic Libertarian says, Kurt Russell, a libertarian. True, for those of you who don't remember, the actor who played Snake Plissken on Escape from New York, as me and Mike were talking about, is Kurt Russell. And he is a self-proclaimed libertarian. See that? Maybe we got a shot here. Maybe we do. I like that idea. Very much so. Let's see. We got that one done. Mike Voss says 62% of foreign naturalized voters in New York want Mamdani. That's foreign cultures putting their country in the U.S., thinking it will work better here. It's assimilation failure to an extent. This is kind of what Lorraine's talking about. This is her worry. As I said, Lorraine is not alone in her fears. She's not. And I do think a lot of nationalized voters do like Mamdani. They see themselves in him. I think that's true. And as you know, politics is heavily emotional, and often identity politics works. I wish it didn't, but I think often it does. The fear is my biggest worry, Mike, and I think you just touched a very valid stat. And then that stat you just gave, and then the anecdote that Lorraine is, I think this is real. There's a real fear out here that we've got to somehow quell or fix or deal with or something, or things are going to get worse. Let me grab a call if I could. This is Roger. Roger, how are you, sir?
Good. So I'm going to fly through this real quick. I got 4 points I want to make real quick. To think that it's only the Democrat Party that's interested in power and not Republicans shows why we need to get rid of political parties, because both parties want power. I got out of that type of thinking, which is why I'm a party abolitionist. This thinking that my party is better than your party and is more patriot than your party needs to go, because you will never see your party the same way as the rival party. Both parties don't care about their constituents and loyalists. Two, this whole thing about trying to gin up Muslim fear and all that about Muslims taking over the country, it's just to distract us from the fact that the Zionist beliefs have taken over the country and have had control ever since JFK got deleted. However, make no mistake, it's not just the left, but the young TPUSA followers see it as well. They are more concerned about why are we giving so much difference to Israel than to this country. Not saying that they are all in for Muslims, but I have been seeing them roasting the old guard of the right, like Glenn Beck and others, even though Shapiro's not the old guard. He's trying to be the new guard, but they roasting him too. What I'm saying is the old guard.
So let me touch this piece. So hold on, let me touch this piece. You're saying now that it isn't just the left, it's also the young right on top of it.
So
you there?
What I'm saying is the old guard thought that with the Charlie Kirk being deleted, that it was going to turn against the left, when instead the young right is asking questions of the old guard on the right. Why are we prioritizing why are we prioritizing another country over this country? So you already have a civil war going on in the right, old guard against new guard, which is what happened in the Democrat Party before I left. Trying to shift the fear, like Trump is trying to do, shift the fear to Muslims taking over to get away from the whole thing with Israel, blah, blah, blah. Third thing, we turned on Obama because he turned on us by not delivering and instead went in an imperial and more capitalistic direction than a socialist direction. But the right cannot see that because they're stuck in their partisan belief of Democrats or socialists when they're not. Number four, I already told you that Mamdani sold out in August when Jamie Dimon and others from the Wall Street banking industry said they had a friendly chat with them and they feel comfortable with him, meaning they can control him. What socialist is do the banks feel comfortable with? So, you know.
No. So maybe Keith was right about that, right? You're saying Keith was wrong about Obama being a socialist, which I agree. He was not a socialist. I completely agree with you. And second, you're saying that Keith was right, saying that Mamdani is just going to sell out because he wants his privilege.
Yeah, exactly that too. And also the fact of thinking that my party is better than your party and all that stuff, and the Muslims are taking over, when it's really we've been under Zionist control since JFK got deleted.
All right. I appreciate the call. Roger, thank you. So, look, he gave us a couple things. I think he's right. Both parties want power. And I think each, if you're on the opposite side, you think the opposite side's worse when it comes to power. I think both do. Absolutely. The Muslim fear, I think it could be seen as distraction. Agreed. It could be seen as a distraction. But there are some valid concerns. I think Mike brought some of that up. So did Lorraine. There are some concerns. So the fear while it may be overblown, I would say that's true. It's currently overblown and easy as a distraction, as Roger says. It is based on something that's actually happening. It's not out of nowhere. I think that's true. So yeah, I'm with you on those. And I think Mamdani might sell out. Maybe. I don't know. My issue with him is if he makes it based upon his ideology, will he end it with his ideology? Maybe. I think you're right. AOC has kind of changed, but she's learning her lessons. She's trying to come back. Obama totally sold out. I completely agree. A lot of tough stuff here today. Guys, a lot of good stuff going on in the chat. A lot of good calls and conversations. This is a good show. I like this one. So, yeah. Kim says, Mamdani will bring the house down and Larry as governor will have a pile of rubber to filter through to put his amazing policies in place. I would rather not go that way, but I appreciate that. Yes. Johnny's not happy about the Muslim thing. He says this is nonsense about him being of Arab descent. That's true. He's not. He's of Indian descent. He isn't some radical Shia or Sunni. Keith, if you don't want these people coming in, maybe Republican presidents shouldn't bomb their countries. Valid retort. Valid retort. If we wouldn't have our hands in all those majority Muslim countries, many of them wouldn't come. That's true. The Adirondack says, I just searched Elise Stefanik's gubernatorial platform. She has no platform. All these news articles say Hochul is bad. Look, let's be clear. I say all the time, and some of you get mad when I say it, but it's still true. Locally, there's a lot of good Republicans. If you see a Republican locally and you like that Republican, please vote for them, support them. There's tons of them, do a great job. Tons of them who care. They're all over the state. Republicans win locally all over our state. In a statewide election, what I've been talking about for the past 50 minutes is how people are leaving New York. Those are people who would have been voting for Stefanik. There simply aren't enough Republicans left in the state. They're leaving tomorrow. If Mamdani wins tomorrow, more are going to leave. There is zero chance of a Republican winning a statewide election in this state. The numbers aren't there. There are more independents in this state than there are Republicans. It's almost 3-1, Democrat-Republican. In the New York City race, and I hate saying this because I know Sliwa, I like him. The Republican is the spoiler. I want you to understand that. The Republican, not the independent, is the spoiler. When it comes to across the state, it is too blue. There's not enough Republicans to win. Cannot happen. She knows that. That's why she doesn't put a platform out. Why bother? She's not going to win. She knows it. She's just raising money for whatever her next endeavor is. And every other Republican who runs statewide knows that too. That's why there are no policies. Guys, I appreciate the time you gave me. Thank you for giving me a small chunk of your afternoon. I will see you all very soon.
All right, talk to you next week. Thanks.